Hello, dear friends. Say hi to Blue. Hi, Blue. I don't know what I'd do without this guy. He's been all over the country with me, huh, Blue? Since 2015, when I lost my home of 20 years. Before that, it was a home of 5 years. Both of them were affordable housing. Now, by great design of the enemy, I'm nothing but a homeless, disabled bag lady, huh, Blue? 60 years old. Nowhere to go. And it's really breaking my heart what's happened to this country. I want to show you something. Blue wants me to pet him now. Hold on. Let's go over some of these documents. Let's see. I managed to salvage a bag of documents, and part of it was my employment file through the Housing Authority of the City of Torrington. You see this letter? This was what I was fired for. Right? This was an elderly woman who had to file this letter because Claudia Sweeney rejected her application to live at the towers, which is now infested with, young, disabled, improperly screened, improperly placed drug addicts, apparently. It's 198 HUD Public Housing development, one of 5 in Connecticut that I managed for 6.5 years as Occupancy Specialist. 428 low-income elderly, near elderly, and disabled tenants that was in my charge. And I was a liaison between management and the tenants, and it was my job to defend their fair housing rights. So, this is a State of Connecticut Election Enforcement Commission document. I sent a letter to the commissioners, as you can see. Because through my research, I found out that the commissioners make independent, what do they call them, formal opinions, and that the SEC commissioner had made a formal opinion at one point regarding housing authorities. And so, because I couldn't get the Connecticut Attorney General or any of the commissioners or elected reps to ask Connecticut AG simply to make a formal legal opinion regarding the intentional flaw in the interpretation and application of the Connecticut whistleblower law that intentionally leaves, 115 public housing authorities employees in the state. I mean, there's 115 housing authorities. Each housing authority employs, up to 10 or more. And they all slip through the cracks of the whistleblower law. The front line of anybody that would and is responsible for filing whistleblower complaints. According to HUD OIG Christina Scaringi, if you go to the division of, I can't even hardly talk anymore. There's so many failed agencies, but yeah, Connecticut, HUD OIG Christina Scaringi, been emailing her since 2012 at least, and all my emails just get dumped. But she will go on to the U.S. Justice Department Connecticut Public Task Force with a long, winded paragraph of what HUD does and her role, and HUD Public Housing Authority employees' roles to ensure that their goal is accomplished. Their goal is to make as many people as homeless as possible so they get more funding. And it's just a never-ending circle of fraud and corruption with HUD. The national homeless crisis, home foreclosure crisis, and lack of affordable and low-income housing, it's all by design. A very well social engineered, manufactured crisis. And that is HUD and Department of Labor, EEOC, and every other federal and state municipal institution are all behind it. Including the police, because that means more, low-income people for them to arrest. More prosecutors' money, right? Gary Searle, you don't go after the crime unless it's profitable for the state. My job description, occupancy specialist. Bonnie Butkus took my job. She didn't have any prior experience or education. Claudia Sweeney groomed her for the position that she, a month or two after I was illegally fired, based on the claim that Claudia Sweeney had a personality conflict with me. And that's cost the taxpayers millions of dollars, by the way, let alone what it did to me and my family's life the past, since 05, 06. But she went on and got elevated to assistant property manager, and that title gave her up to a $5 or more increase. No housing experience, nothing. Just willing to brown-nose Claudia Sweeney. The eviction queen, by the way. Internet search the ct.gov JUD case lookup and start looking at the housing. Type in plaintiff by name, Housing Authority of the City of Torrington. See how many evictions are under Claudia Sweeney's belt. Then type in her other nonprofit charity, the Torrington Community Housing Corporation. See how many evictions they have under their belt. And that's all by a private attorney, by the way, Paul Griffin. Yeah, he gets paid a lot of money, tax dollars, to evict the elderly and disabled. And they don't have any due process, fair housing, civil ADA. They have no rights. And there's no one in Torrington or Connecticut or even HUD that will take the complaints. Right? Jennifer Gottlieb and Suzanne Piacentini at HUD Public Housing Field Office. Now, when I was illegally fired, I took out a letter. I typed up a letter, and I sent it to all 428 units. And I asked them for letters of support to send to a P.O. box. And over 300 letters came back. Because for 6.5 years, those tenants valued me as much as I valued them. I actually loved my tenants, the tenants. And there's so many. I only have a handful. These were all part of the file that HUD ignored. They'd rather keep Claudia Sweeney and the knife in position to make us homeless as many people as possible. Okay? People took the time to write these letters. 3 of the 5 developments started petitions. All of this went to HUD that they totally ignored. Do you see this? Okay, this is what happens when you see something and you say something. You get the shit kicked out of you. I've been getting this shit kicked out of me for, first off, most of my life. Look at this. These people took the time to write these letters. Here's one of the petitions. Michael Corey Terrace tenants. No, that's just one of the pages. God, this is sad. I can hardly stand it. I loved my job. I loved my tenants. So for 6.5 years, I tolerated workplace violence, known as workplace bullying. And in 2003, I filed my first CHRO EEOC discrimination complaint, because every time I'd stand up for the tenants, they'd turn around and accuse me of being that it was because I didn't like my Puerto Rican supervisor, and that's why I was complaining. And they called me a racist. And then AFSCME Council 4, Local 1579, does somebody want to tell me how I'm an AFSCME employee? That stands for American Federal, State, County, Municipal Employee. I paid union dues for 6.5 years, and nobody can tell me what kind of an employee I was. I'm not federal, I'm not state, I'm not municipal, I'm not county, and I'm not a quasi-public agency. I was a nothing. According to HUD, look at this. These people all went to the trouble to sign their names. Look at this. Okay? This looks like my handwriting. Yeah, please take into consideration the hundreds of letters and signatures that have been sent on my behalf. I hope that it is obvious that I'm certainly not the trouble employee that the small handful of office staff and THE painted me out to be. I don't know why there's... Okay, so there was some vacancies. Yeah, this would be a very good document to see how many vacancies there are. Look at this. Vacant. That's what Claudia Sweeney did. Wow, that really says a lot right there. You know, I had a list that I couldn't wait to get the residents in. I also gave them a choice of where they lived, because that's HUD fair housing. This is insane. I've really got to figure out what the hell happened here. This has got to be duplicates. It's hard to fathom that this could possibly be so many vacancies. Okay, another one of the developments that people took the time, I don't know, to sign. I mean, like I said, there was, out of 428 units, there were at least 300 people that took the time to write letters for me. And you know who's doing that right now for me? Nobody. Oh God, this is the guy that... George Julian, his death needs to be investigated as a murder, along with Brad Harmon's. This man was homeless. And through the several months of the application process, I pulled him out of homelessness and got him into the towers. And he became an advocate on the loosely formed tenant association that I was trying to help them form. He gathered documentation he was getting ready to bring to HUD prior to the September 2010 City Council meeting. He ended up being found dead in his apartment. So they postponed the reappointment of Commissioner Sam Slaby for the following month. And he was booted by Mayor Bingham. And Attorney Sam Slaby, the big Democrat leader, friends with all of the goddamn Democrats, Blumenthal and everybody else, they would ensure that I would never, ever have a decent life for the rest of my life. How dare I do my job? This man's death needs to be investigated as a suicide. You go to the September and October 2010 Torrington City Council meeting minutes and you read his name. You say his name. You go to the Register Citizen and you type in Bradford Harmon. He hung himself off the 14th floor of the Torrington Towers after I was fired because Claudia Sweeney sent him an eviction letter on unsubstantiated minor lease violations. He said, "You want me out, I'll get out." He hung himself. That should be investigated as a goddamn murder. This is unbelievable. I just can't stand it anymore. Look at this letter. Look at the people that took the time to send me letters. I got beautiful cards. But these people's lives don't matter. Oh my God. This was my letter that I sent everybody. I wish to say farewell to all my former tenants of the Torrington Housing Authority. As of today, I am no longer an employee of THA. I loved my job deeply, and I cared about all my tenants. I will sorely miss each and every one of you. Unfortunately, manager and I disagreed on important issues. My attempt to communicate my concerns has led to employment termination. I can't do this anymore, guys. Somebody's got to help me. I cannot go up against HUD and the whole goddamn Connecticut Attorney General. There's up to 300 of them. There's up to 500 Utah Attorney Generals, assistants. The entire Division of Criminal Justice, the entire Connecticut Judicial Branch, the entire Public Pretender Unit, the entire Connecticut and even the American Bar Association. I'm on a blacklist. Do not help Mary no matter what. Every public employee, union, police officer, and other positions, they all hate my guts. Okay? Blumenthal and Murphy are two of the most powerful senators in Washington, and they both want me dead. But I can't get into the witness protection program. Okay, I will die of a heart attack or a stroke before I ever have justice if they have their way. I can't let that happen, guys. Please, somebody help me.